Hi guys, it's Kim with Everyday Llama. I'm here today to talk about blueberries. So we went to Morning Bell Farms, which is an organic blueberry farm here locally. My family and I went blueberry picking. We picked about 7.5 pounds of berries. So we got about 4 buckets this size, and that was about 7.5 pounds. And I've decided to freeze some, and we'll keep some for fresh eating, but I've also decided to make some yummy blueberry syrup and use the leftovers from that for blueberry butter. So join us today and we'll learn how to make that. It's a no waste recipe. It's not low calorie, but it's delicious, and it's the kind of blueberry butter that maybe your grandma made. Hello garden friends. Are you having fun, little one? I think Sissy is too. It's peace and quiet out here today. Look at all these beautiful blueberries. I recommend that you wash your blueberries. We had a lot of flotsam and jetsam on them that we got from the farm. We obtained about 36 cups of blueberries from our picking. We also got the water bath canner ready, and we put it on a hot plate because it doesn't fit well on our stovetop. While we got that up to temperature, I started zesting the lemon. This recipe calls for about 1 teaspoon of lemon zest, or the zest of 1 lemon. For this part of the recipe, to obtain the 2 tablespoons of lemon juice that I needed, I used my manual lemon juicer. This lemon was a little bit harder to juice, as you can see, but I was able to get approximately 2 tablespoons. Half you'll need for the syrup, and the other half you'll need for the blueberry butter. As you can see, 12 cups of blueberries is an awful lot, and it does require a large stainless steel heavy bottomed pot for this recipe. And as you can see, I'm still finding bits of stem to pick out. While you're waiting for the blueberries and the water to come to a boil, your blueberries to soften, you can pre-prep your strainer in a bowl, as well as either your blender or a food processor. Have those ready to go for when the blueberries are ready. As everything starts to come to a boil and the berries begin to soften, you'll need something to be able to stir them with, preferably a non-reactive spoon, such as a wooden spoon, and you'll need a potato masher. An old school one or an immersion blender works just fine for this. I prefer to go old school because I feel like the blueberries soften enough anyway, and it's kind of fun. You'll begin to pour some of the hot berries that are crushed through a fine stainless steel mesh sieve, and you'll need your spoon to kind of push those through a little bit. Your whole goal is to obtain the juice, and then you'll put the mashed berries in the food processor or blender. I use a blender for this. Use caution, as this may be really hot. Your goal here will be to try to obtain about 5 cups of the blueberry juice. You can see I switched over to a Pyrex bowl that had measurements on there, so I could actually see without having to guesstimate how many cups I was obtaining. And I was, with no issue, able to obtain the 5 cups, and now I'm blending the puree in the blender. The juice, meanwhile, is heating up to a boil over the stove. I'm adding half of the lemon juice, and 3 cups of the 6 cups of sugar are going in here, bringing this to a boil. To dissolve, I'm stirring this in the corn syrup, which it does use a whole bottle of this brand. or 2 cups of Karo syrup in here. You'll let the mixture boil for approximately 35 minutes before it's going to be ready to can. And in that process, you'll want to scoop off any of the skim that forms on top. While that's coming to a boil, and in the 35 minutes it takes to make that, you can be prepping your blueberry butter. In a clean stainless steel pot, you'll go ahead and pour that puree and extra juice that you had in. Make sure you get all those good bits out. While you're stirring and letting that come up to medium-high heat to a boil, you can go ahead and add in the remaining 3 cups of sugar that you had left over. I also recommend going ahead and adding the remaining lemon juice, as well as your 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg and your half of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Here's me making it more difficult than it had to be to add the lemon zest while showing you what I was doing. The lemon zest smells so good. A word about the lemon juice. If you don't have a juicer of any kind, you can hand squeeze the lemon over a strainer into a bowl. You just don't want the seeds in there and too much heavy pulp. As far as cinnamon and ground nutmeg go, I like to use the little bit higher quality cinnamon and nutmeg because it does make a difference. The smell and fragrance is wonderful. I am now going to be ladling the blueberry butter into my warm jars that have been sanitized. I sanitize these and I always rinse off the lids just to make sure there's no impurities. I am using a funnel here because this blueberry butter is very hot, so you'll want to be careful. You do not want to accidentally get that on your skin, as it can cause a significant burn. I was supposed to fill up approximately 5 8-ounce jars of the blueberry butter. I did get a little bit more, and I contribute that to these blueberries being particularly fresh, and they were quite large. Here I'm using a towel dipped in vinegar to clean off the edges of the jar to make sure that they seal properly. And this particular jar is a little different than the typical canning jars that your grandma may have used. These are glass on glass with a rubber seal ring between them. These particular ones are made by Weck. The hot water bath is ready to rock and roll, and I have the jars of blueberry butter ready to put in there. I am now filling up the other jars as the blueberry syrup is ready as well. Something you should know about water bath canning, if you're unfamiliar with it, is that you want to actually get the water back up to boiling to start your timer. You're going to process these particular blueberry items in the canner for about 10 minutes, but again, you want them all the way back up to boiling before you start your 10-minute timer. We really want to make sure that they seal well for longevity, as these should last you for anywhere from 6 months to a year. So the blueberry syrup was supposed to equate to about 4 8-ounce jars of syrup. However, this is why I also recommend that you always have some extra jars on hand. as I had a lot more syrup than I had intended on, and I filled up a much larger jar and about half of another one, which I'll save in the refrigerator instead of canning. Now, these jars were supposed to have about a 1/4 inch headspace, which you can tell by most of these it's a bit under. I did go back and top them off camera. The good old towel with the vinegar is making its appearance again to make sure that those lids seal properly. Something else to note about canning is you definitely want the lid to seal well. To get a good seal, we want to make sure that top of that jar is clean. We want to make sure the head space is correct on the blueberry syrup. And then the other thing that is handy for you to know is have an idea of your altitude. So we are barely above sea level here, so I do not have to make any adjustments, but I recommend on checking if you are above 1,200 feet, and there's various altitudes where you have to adjust the length of your canning. Again, here, these only take about 10 minutes to process, but if you're at a higher altitude up in the mountains, especially in the Rockies here in the States, you'll probably have to adjust your time. So I am sealing the lids, the rings on the lids, to finger tip tightness. And the reason for doing that is you don't want to overseal them and risk jar breakage. You'll know the lids are sealed when you hear that distinct pop after they've been water bath canned and pulled out and are sitting out to cool, and you'll notice that the lid will be more concave. This ball lid that I'm about to place on the refrigerator jar is not made for canning. That's just a refrigerator lid. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I hope you like the recipe for the blueberry syrup and the blueberry butter. If you get a chance to make it yourself, please comment below. The link for the recipe is down below at my blog, everydayllama.com. There are many other recipes posted already and a lot more to come. If you liked the video today, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you'd like to, subscribe, as we hope to have lots of future content out there for you. Thanks for watching today, guys, and I hope to see you soon. Happy growing. It's fine.
You said everything.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, well then I'm done.
So, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching today. Thanks for watching. The recipe can be found down below. So is it going to be down below or is it going to be on my blog? I'm sorry. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the recipe. If you decide to... I'm stuck. I don't remember what I was going to say. Use it for anything below.
Start over.
Recipe can be found... Hi guys, they are... Oh, I know why Rachel has so many outtakes.